siblings of narcissists, psychopaths, or sociopaths. What's your experience? U/4externallusionly_ responded. When I was 10, my mom put a lock on my door because my brother started threatening to kill me and my mom in the night. When I was 14, he fixated on my mom and threatened to burn down our house, shoot my whole family, and steal all the valuables and drive away. That same year, he was 17, he took our car and ran away from home for 2 weeks. We ended up calling the police on him. When he came home, the police decided that it would be best if he lived somewhere else, so he did. As we were cleaning out his room, we found hundreds of knives, a handgun, lighter fluid, gasoline, and lighters. U/Rechko responded. I was playing with a suitcase while watching TV. I was small enough to fit myself in it. My brother, nearly 4.5 years older than me, saw what I was doing and asked to zip me up in it. After already having learned to never trust him, I asked Mom to watch us to make sure he didn't do anything stupid. He zipped me up inside the suitcase and started carrying it in a shuffle step. Thump, thump, thump. I heard the sliding door to the enclosed patio open. Mom started screaming and I could hear her slapping my brother repeatedly. The suitcase fell over onto its side with me still in it. I managed to pry open the zippers from the inside and got myself out of the suitcase as quickly as possible. Mom was still slapping at my brother, screaming why? I was 2 feet away from being dumped inside a suitcase into the family hot tub. He laughed and said that I would have floated. What's the big deal? So, yeah, that's what it was like growing up with a sociopath. U/throwaway 77798235 responded. My sister has never been diagnosed with narcissism or a personality disorder other than OCD, but when we were younger she often enjoyed telling people before I met them that I had a difficult relationship with the truth so that they wouldn't want to be around me. I had the reputation of a liar and no friends for most of my preteen years, and she was popular in our homeschool group until she left and got into high school. After she left, I still didn't have friends, but neither did she, and she blamed me for it during her frequent temper tantrums. She would throw things, scream, cry, and threaten me with kitchen knives on a pretty regular basis. All of a sudden, the year that I turned 17 and she turned 21, the tantrums stopped and she got engaged. He moved in with us, the tantrums started again, and for once I wasn't the target. The worst fight they had happened when she caught him looking at a photo of a bikini model, which she considered cheating. She hit him full force with an open palm, and when our mum saw, she threatened to kick her out if she hit him again. They got married, moved out, and divorced within a year of him enlisting in the army. U/Orc responded. They can make drama out of any situation and will try to drag you into it even years later. Example, I am the next to youngest. My whole family is a shit show, but when I was planning my wedding, I was still trying to pretend I had a reasonable family. My future husband's family was like Leave It to Beaver. So Elle asked both of my sisters to be bridesmaids. I knew this was a risk, but I hoped they could keep their shit together for a single evening. At the time, I thought they had. About 8 years later, we were in the same city because one of our brothers was in the hospital due to a bad car accident. We had one hotel room across the street from the hospital so people could go rest when they needed to. I was in that room with my oldest sister when she said, "You know, middle sister, stole wine glasses from your wedding, right?" I told her I didn't care. A couple of hours later, I was in that room with my middle sister. She said, "You know, folder sister, stole glasses from your wedding, right?" I also told her I didn't care. So here we are, waiting to see if our brother was going to die, and both of these bitches are playing reindeer games with me, trying to make me be angry with the other one. Our brother lived. I've cut contact with all my siblings because they are all like this. They have to start shit no matter what the situation or consequences. U/Kendra_Nicole responded. Growing up, she had total control of my life. She criticized what I wore, listened to, ate, everything. If I was different I was weird, if I liked what she liked then I was copying her. She tried to scare me multiple times with guns and knives, claiming she never would actually hurt me, but she would hold up a samurai sword to my throat and tell me if I moved I died. Eventually she had a kid when she was 19 and I was 16, and for a year she was a good mother and then decided she didn't want to be a mom anymore. I've seen her ruin countless people's lives, spanning from just stringing them along to drowning their bank accounts to contributing to them being put in jail for domestic abuse. She's still waiting for trial on her charge. I despise her and she is not family to me. I had so many issues growing up that only stemmed from things she did to me, and I don't want to see my niece grow up like that. My parents are doing a wonderful job of raising her, but she doesn't understand why mommy isn't there and it breaks my heart. Jesus 25 responded. Brother was doted on as a child because he was gifted at basketball. Literally had no consequences growing up and could do whatever he wanted. Treated me and our parents like absolute crap and they still doted on him, while I would get the belt for the most benign and asinine stuff. My brother's life is absolute crap right now. He has no sense of self-worth and just gets handouts from my parents. He is in his late 30s and my parents are giving him money for rent and food. He wants everyone to feel sorry for him and expects everything to be handed to him. He can't do anything on his own and guilt trips and manipulates my parents into doing whatever it is he needs doing for him or just giving him extra funds. He has no incentive to change and is content playing video games all day while my parents just enable his lifestyle. At holidays he just talks down to me and tries to make me feel bad about how difficult his life is. I could care less about him and have no desire to talk to him until he makes some serious changes in his lifestyle and life choices. A caffeinated wondrous responded. My sister has dialed down her act a bit, after we have all spent a few years out of our raging NPD asshole father's house. I mostly remember a massive sense of entitlement that simply made no logical sense and would require a great deal of cognitive dissonance to explain. Like, she would never loan me things, CDS, except, but had no problem walking straight into my room, in front of my face, to take a bottle of body lotion to use on herself. She seemed to have no remorse for what her behavior did to others, so long as she got what she wanted out of the deal. Sometimes, she would just do and say mean and spiteful things for no reason. I talked to her from time to time. While is less of a self-involved sociopath, she still is insufferably self-righteous. _fuzz responded. He never got a diagnosis, but he's good at deceiving. He always just tried to get all the attention, cried to get me punished, so he could spend more time playing with my PlayStation. I saved my money for myself. I ended up being the black sheep, my mom constantly threatening to call Child Protective Services. If I wouldn't have been so unknowing, I would have preferred that. He was always sick and he was always the victim. So much, that they ended up forgetting me at home, when they went to my grandparents and didn't realize it, until they hit me crying, alone at night behind a couch. There is a lot of fucked up stuff I'm not including, but it wasn't just emotional terror. He willfully abused the whole relationship to my family, so we started to estrange one another. I confronted him a lot, so years later he's on a different route and tries to be himself, rather than a victim. I still don't want to be around anyone here. It burns on my skin to even get near. But it's not as bad as being in the situation and having to deal with it. Saqueen responded. I'm not even totally sure of my older brother's diagnosis, but several years ago I found out through his journal that he had an elaborate plan to murder me and had apparently attempted to before, but couldn't go through with it. His reasoning was mostly because I was mean to him as a child, but really he was the one cruel to me. The part that really fucks me up is that both my parents knew about his wish to kill me and never said anything to me, let us sleep under the same roof. They always coddled and treated him differently than me. He is severely mentally ill, likely a psychopath, has been in a mental hospital now for several years. I cut contact with my parents as soon as I moved out. Ethan Klein responded. My sibling is not a sociopath or psychopath, but is narcissistic with extreme anger issues. He would intentionally start arguments, slightest response from me would be his excuse to go mental. Worst was once when he choked me after I tried to defend myself, only stopped because I threatened to call the cops. Later my dad sided with him saying I shouldn't have made my brother angry, and that if I did call the cops, they'd laugh at me and would do nothing. That's idiotic, obviously. Bear in mind my brother was 6 feet 1 inch and athletic, while I was a skinny 5 feet 4 inches teenager that was 5 years younger. I'm now an adult and in the military, and don't plan on talking to either of them much after I leave. Needless to say, if he ever tries something like that again, he'll be lucky if he isn't hospitalized. Count on it. Matt Day Ewerman responded. My dad is as much of a narcissist as it gets. I didn't realize that it was abnormal until I moved out of the house and out of state. When I finally came back, I remember him calling me one day to tell me to give him $10 because he claimed he needed to grab something to eat. Sorry, but I don't have $10 to give you. You don't have $10 to give your dad? Come on, I'll pay you right back, I just need it to go down to the store so I can eat. I don't have it, so you'll have to put on your big boy pants and make some money for yourself. Well, I was gonna ask your sister, but I don't wanna ask her because she's my daughter, why no? I hung up after that. A few minutes later he calls me and says, hey, your sister just sent me the $10, see, it wasn't that hard. A couple months later I heard that he was still asking my sister for money, and then on my sister and my brother-in-law's anniversary he called and basically blew her up over the phone when she said no, to the point where she was crying on that day of all days, and then he finally said, "So you're just gonna let your dad freeze to death outside tonight?" My brother-in-law told him not to ever call them again, and I haven't heard from him since. U/creative username 147 responded. IDK if this counts, but my 6-year-old brother, he was 6 when this happened, once asked my mom if he could have some of her fries. She said yes and asked why. He replied with, "So I can kill seagulls." She asked why, and he replied with, "So I can bait them and then kill them with rocks." My mom also asked why he would do that, and he answered, "Because I don't play enough Fortnite." Another time my friend accidentally stepped on my dog's paw and was like, "Oh God, I'm so sorry," and etc. Then, my brother from the other room yelled, "I wish I could break the dog's paw." He's done other things like talk about how he wouldn't miss me if I died and such. I've also had dreams about him killing everyone I know, like family, pets and friends. U/Slater 1126 responded. My narcissistic brother is almost 10 years older than I, so I don't remember a lot of the things he did. I know the stories, though. He left home at 16. We did have a relationship as adults, but I cut it off realizing that he hadn't changed. He's stolen from my family members, is a pathological liar, and a con man to say the least. We call him Conman Don. He has even lied to his children about having cancer. He is a piece of work. He has never ever acknowledged anything he's done. In fact, he acts like none of it ever happened. As of now, we do not talk. I am close to his children. I get joy out of family events my brother actually attends because I make him super uncomfortable. I also have an older sister who has gaslighted me my entire life. I didn't realize it till adulthood when people would point out her behavior to me and question it. She's narcissistic in many ways too, never sees the error of her own ways. I can be around her, but I have to keep it limited. I finally learned to have boundaries. U/deleted responded. Not a sibling, but a son. My father left home after 15 years of marriage. My older sisters left home at the age of 13. My mother was afraid to lose me too, so she started to tell me how bad I am at everything, how I need a disability pension to survive, etc., and sent me to mental hospital and told me to pretend some stuff. She herself told the doctors some weird lies, how I chased her with a knife, and such. Then, she was telling me that I won't survive on my own with such disability pension. I told her LD find a job and such. She told me to not be crazy, to find a job first, and once I start earning, I can look for a place to live on my own. I asked her how to load the laundry, and such. She'd just say, "If you don't know such things, then you're not ready to live on your own." But, she declared she'd help me with job seeking. So, I started to look for some physical job, and she declared to confirm that I'm good for the job. Didn't get a single job. Was wondering why. Turned out she was telling my potential employers how lazy I am and how I will demolish the workplace when I am told to do something. Moved abroad with no prior notice to my mother. After 2 years, she said she'd be moving in with me, and started knocking to my door and saying things in Russian, to make people around think I'm Russian. U/Yesman 783 responded. Sister is a narcissist. Used to threaten me and say generally mean things when we were little, that progressed to her telling lies to get me punished as we got older, and then just being manipulative and trying to use anything to get people to feel sorry for her. My younger sisters used to get called fat and told that everybody in the family was embarrassed by them. They were 8 and 13 years younger than this sister, so she was picking on a 10 and 5-year-old when she left for college. Her parents have enabled her in doing this for years by telling us other kids that we just had to learn to ignore her comments and rarely ever reprimanding her for being a bitch. She is almost 50 years old now and still acts the same way, but we don't have to deal with her when we don't want to, but she still tries to divide the family, and she has the best luck with me since she is the oldest and more favored. I recall the time I loaned her something and she came to me and claimed someone else broke it. I knew how this would go. She would claim that since she didn't break it she wasn't responsible, and her mother would agree and dad would follow mom, and LD be screwed out of my present that LD just gotten a couple weeks before, so I told the superintendent at school since it was supposedly broken at school. We got home and she botched and complained to the parents, and when she was done dad came into my room and ripped my ass with, "You don't go dragging our personal lives out in public and we'll handle this stuff at home," and never took the 2 seconds to ask my side of the story, which just enforced my belief of how it was going to go. My mom then came in and told me that social life was different in high school and I was in the wrong. Fuck them. U/Gigabyte Starship responded. When we were younger, we had no heat and he would come into my room and take my covers. I was too small to fight back, so LD just lay there and freeze all night. He'd threaten me that he'd hurt me if I told our mom. As we got older, he became a drug addict. He would steal my mom's pain medication and anxiety medication so he could get high. If my mom had any money, he'd steal it from her. He used to steal her car, but she wouldn't do anything because she didn't want him in jail. After my mom died, he broke into our house and stole several of our things. The cops said they could do nothing about it. He got all his kids taken away because he and his baby mama were doing meth while she was breastfeeding and their baby almost died. He still says that his kids shouldn't have been taken away. He seriously doesn't understand. He actually said to my dad, "She just smoked a little bit. I don't know what the big deal is. They are about to have another baby. I hate him and want nothing to do with him." We are half siblings. Our older brother, who was his full sibling, died earlier this year, and I constantly wonder why it was him and not my awful brother. I don't even consider him family anymore. You/deleted responded. In recent memory, she was getting married. Bridezilla isn't even the right word for the hell she put everyone through. Our parents are wealthy business owners and they agreed to help pay for the wedding, and they got taken for a ride. She assured them that getting a tent and having it outside would be cheaper than renting a hall. It wasn't. Parents then had to buy grass seed for the area they were getting married at. They then paid the rental fees for the tent, the tables, the chairs, the washrooms, etc. They bought all the alcohol and the wood to make the dance floor with. When they were done, it was like $20,000 out of their own pockets. They never got a thank you, and parents of the groom, who didn't pay for anything, treated them like shit. I got really mad about how they basically took my parents' money and ran with it like a bunch of drunk sailors, and then had the gall to say they didn't even help. They work almost every day of the week and they were footing the bill. I was really sick, won't get into it, and I needed to have surgery, but I put it off because the recovery time was going to be long, and her wedding was coming up. I was also working all the time, and I was in a lot of pain. She and her maid of honor got really pissed off at me for not booking enough time off work to go to their bullshit. I remember not wanting to go to the bachelorette weekend because I wasn't in very good shape. She guilt-tripped me and said, "You probably don't even want to be in my wedding," and all this crap. Just not understanding my situation or what I was saying or what was wrong with me. So I went, and I was beyond miserable in more ways than one. You/deleted responded. My sister first got in a knife fight when she was 12 years old. She laughed after the fact, especially given that it was her fault the fight happened and she caused the most damage, but the guys got house arrest and she got a drive home. She started stealing at 8 just to have something to do. When she got caught, she pinned it on her friends and got half of them in trouble with the law and their parents. She only cares about things, not people. She's never at fault, only other people are. She abuses her boyfriend to all get out, but thinks that we're abusive. She's currently pretending to live on a beach in another city so that dad will feel bad and let her move into our house, which has no room, with her boyfriend, who she has a court order to stay away from, because the government is wrong and we're fine. She once stole my iPod while I was in the bathroom and denied it for 10 years. Then she blamed me for ripping up her doll clothes, which I did once. She holds things over me from 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, but God help me if I am upset about something she did a week ago. She gaslights me constantly, and she used her narcissism to take out her eating disorder on me, giving me a really complex relationship with my body and my eating, but to this day she denies doing so. And it gets so much worse. This is just the stuff I don't mind posting. You/Nemnemgraves responded. It's exhausting just thinking about it. I don't want to go into everything about my sister right now, but I'll say this. She used to have a nickname for me. It was Slave. She thought it was so funny. Had people think it was just a joke. It was not. She treated me like a slave and I was so deep in the fog that I didn't know I could fight back. It was always easier to just do what she wanted because the abuse was too much to deal with. I suppressed my feelings to the point where I thought that smiling meant I was happy. I felt empty. I wasn't allowed to frown. Anything less than a smile meant that I was ruining everyone else's day. I was only allowed to smile. So my mom didn't notice I wasn't happy because I acted like I was. I tried to end myself at 16 and my sister turned it into a joke. She still laughs about it. Happy ending to this is that I'm married and don't take her shit anymore. I won't let anyone treat me like that again. I know what happiness feels like and I know what I'm worth. Still working through the fog though. You/Rusty Springfield responded. I have a sibling who used information from subs like are raised by narcissists and other narcissistic mother blogs and websites to isolate and convince myself and each of my other siblings that our parent was an abusive narcissist. They were much older and were able to start on each sibling around the age of 17. Eventually each sibling came to the realization of what they were doing and we cut them out, but we all suffered pretty seriously at their hands in a lot of ways. Also, this sibling had left a book at one of our places while storing stuff. In the book at the top of each page was the name of a person in their life, family, friends, co-workers, landlord, neighbors, etc., and a list of the things they could be used for to benefit my sibling, the things they like and dislike, and methods to use and manipulate the person best. I am terrified of this person, especially since they work in law enforcement, have access to firearms, and abuse all sorts of amphetamines and other drugs daily. U/Animaking 1108 responded. I don't just use sociopath as a random insult for her. She has a very high opinion on herself, posting about how good of a person she is on Facebook, never admits she's wrong or takes personal responsibility for anything. She got fired for coming into work late, and I mean hours late because she kept falling back asleep whenever we tried waking her, one too many times, but she believes it was because the boss had it out for her. When she does admit she's wrong, she always has some kind of excuse to justify it, is completely apathetic to other people's problems. I'm apparently just bitching about nothing when I got shit for a mess her kids made, and she likes to torment people she knows can't fight back, like our autistic sister. However, the moment she really crossed the line was when my parents found out that she stole hundreds of dollars from their bank account. On a day where they had to take me to the hospital because the right side of my face was numb, don't worry, it was just Bell's palsy. She tried to rob my parents blind while they were worried that I might have gotten a stroke. My parents were ready to tell her she was dead to them and planned on pressing charges, but she made up some sob story about how she's a junkie who needs help. I mean, she is a junkie, but she doesn't actually want help. For the last few months, she's been living with our grandma to get rehabilitated, leaving us to look after her kids, but I know she's just trying to weasel her way out of criminal charges. U/Britain 1985 responded. My half-brother from my dad's affair. He is mean for the sake of enjoyment. Every pet he has ever had has unfortunately died within weeks of him having them. He used to regular best the absolute shit out of his girlfriend, once beating her so hard he knocked a few teeth out. Lies with every breath he takes. Had stole money from my mother after she had surgery, stole money from his own mother. When his girlfriend decided to leave him, her threatened to shoot her, then drown their twins. Is a raging coke friend, knowingly feed one twin food they were allergic to. Tried to kidnap his kids during the custody dispute and once told my dad over dinner if he couldn't have full custody he would kill them just to hurt their mother. Regular bullied me as a child, including pushing me out of my wheelchair. Pinched my son hard enough to bruise his legs, and when confronted by my other brother said, and I quote, "I like to see him squim. He is just a N-word anyway, they aren't human." Has been violently homophobic, racist and Islamophobic to my wife. Regularly told her all Muslims need to have their head chopped off. Has thrown her copy of the Quran into the fireplace at Christmas dinner 1 year, tried to remove her hijab. Stalked a co-worker who refused to go out for a drink. Arrested over a dozen times on drug charges. Is a proud white nationalist. And finally arson. Thank God he got 15 years in state prison. U/Payfanepirate responded. My sister doesn't take any responsibility for her own action, she just got out of prison in February, and it looks like she may be going back soon to finish out her underlying sentence. She claims that her corrections officer is just being mean, even though she popped hot for cocaine, meth, and pot. She is also 5 months pregnant. I have all 4 of her other kids living with me. Up until recently I only had 2 of them and their dad had the other 2. She calls constantly, knowing that it is expensive to take the calls. She calls several times a day, and expects us to answer every time. I haven't answered the last several times, because I can't afford to pay for it. The last time I answered, she was crying and begging me to put up the money for a bond, which she knows I don't have. She was telling me I need to put her car up for collateral, along with a couple of $100, and tell the bondsman they will get the rest soon. I have bailed her out a couple of times in the past, and instead of telling the judge to have the money go back to me, she told them to put it towards her fines. I have lost so much money and personal property due to her antics over the years, I refuse to do anything else for her. I will however do what I need to and can do for the kids. U/Fang of DRKNSS responded. I'm 22, while my brother's 19. A definite asshole who gets irrationally angry, throwing tantrums and calling me stupid or a dumbass, even if he's at fault for something, like recently crashing our mom's $25,000 car and brushing the damage off as being just rear-ended. The thing got towed away, and the main driver's door couldn't even open. Doesn't seem scarred at all by the fact that he and her could have easily died, since our mom doesn't wear a seatbelt. Very childish when it comes to thinking. Would rather use $2,500 max worth of work study money to pay for a $6K tuition, and use a $2,000 a month from a part-time job to buy whatever he wants. I've tried having conversations here and there, joining in with our even younger sister, who he gets along with, only to be called a dumbass. He accuses me of needing to be sent to a psych ward when I say something that really pisses him off, even though I fully believe he's the one who deserves that kind of treatment. It's insane how much of a switch he is. When you say something that offends him he doesn't agree with, throwing these kind of tantrums. You/Starigalaxia responded. My mother is a huge narcissist. Her favorite thing to do was gaslight and project onto others. The day I finally had enough was when she kept berating my handicapped sister. She was really drunk. I had told her to please just go to bed. Finally she shifts her anger to me and we start going at it. Her words to me were, "You're not even a real woman, you hate her, you wish she was dead in a ditch. Nothing good ever came out of my relationship with your stupid worthless father, not even you. No man will ever love you or give you babies because you're not a real woman." She has 7 children, all of which have different fathers. She resented my oldest sister, in the wheelchair, because she had her at 17 and was forced to take care of her literally all her young adult life till she got busted for drugs. It took her 2 years to actually talk to me again after that night, and even then it wasn't to apologize, it was to ask why I haven't talked to her and how I could be so bitter to her. Yeah, let that one sink in. My mother isn't really a part of my life anymore. Occasionally she asks for money, in which I never give her. She'll get mad, call me selfish, and then we don't talk for a few weeks. Funny thing is, I'm doing well for myself. Her and my idiotic stepfather on the other hand are struggling with money. They're terrible with money. Constantly spend where they honestly don't need to. But they both like to pretend like it's my problem. I can say I'm happier now, they are best at distant, and my sister lives with me now. All is good, smiley face. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Leave your own stories down below, I would love to read them. If you would like to see more videos like this, please like and subscribe, it helps me out greatly.